Well, our primary task was to meet with our enemies, those we felt were our enemies, and we did meet with some enemies, there's no doubt. And to see whether or not this whole notion of loving your enemy really makes any sense. I mean, it's kind of a crazy teaching. Even loving your neighbor as yourself, I mean, come on. Maybe loving them, liking them a little bit, but loving them as yourself, especially if they're over there, especially if they're terrorists. Are you supposed to love terrorists? What? That's crazy. And that's the primary purpose, to see whether or not that even made any sense. And for me, I learned this. In one sense, it doesn't really matter whether I fear them or not. It doesn't change the nature of that commandment or that teaching. In fact, at all. The Samaritans were feared by the Jews, by the rest of the Jews, and vice versa. And Jesus told the parable of the Good Samaritan who ended up helping, the one who ended up helping and bringing healing to the man by the side of the road. He stepped out and helped his enemy, and he really was an enemy. So, I met these people. I learned they were real humans. They had funny jokes sometimes, again. They cried. They had some incredible stories that brought tears to my eyes. They were human to the bone, as human as me. And in many cases, they impressed me as more human than some people I know here in the United States. More loving, meaning. They've certainly been through a lot more tragedy. They're more tender, They've been tenderized by years of tragedy. Sometimes hardened by it, but sometimes tenderized. We tend to be more plastic in this country. And these are gross generalizations, I realize that. But, I found those people to be very, very, in many cases, endearing, real people that I could love. And yet even those that I feared and continue to fear, I think, have an obligation in some way to find out what it means to love them and to love them. And I find that most of my friends have absolutely no love for Arabs in general, much less terrorists. So you don't really see that picture on CNN or really on any newscast. You hear about our side. They're not humanized because we're afraid if we humanize them, we might somehow be endorsing them. That's not the point at all. We're not endorsing terrorism. We're not endorsing, this isn't a discussion or a book on the many political aspects of that region of the world, because those are immensely complex. We didn't go to solve the Middle East crisis or to even address the challenges the nation of Israel has. Those aren't part of the discussion. We simply went to understand what it meant to love your enemies, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Arabic, Muslim, Hindu, it doesn't matter, Christian. What does it mean to love your enemies? And that's why we went.